Okay, so here's the real way to maximize the single most fundamental process within your body for your muscle gain, fat loss, for health, energy, for hormone production, recovery, for your transformation, and overall quality of life, and that's sleep. And just for some context to show you how massive of a role sleep plays in your transformation, this is what I looked like a year and a bit into training. Now, do you see any so-called newbie gains? Because I sure shit didn't. And that was despite hitting the gym 5 times a week and doing a good job of hitting my macros pretty damn consistent. During that time, I had absolutely no concept of how to get good sleep, first of all, and I was even more ignorant to how massive of a deal it is. So much so that I would literally, no joke, stay up with my boys for 24 hours straight, grinding double rep events on 2K. If you played 2K back in the day, you know what I'm talking about. We had to get those double rep events in, level up, hit Elite 1, hit Elite 2, then work our way up to Legend. Never hit Legend, but did get my mascots. And of course, quite the shocker, I made little to no progress and looked basically the same. So fast forward to now, where I've averaged a 93% sleep score on Whoop for the past 6 months, which is pretty elite. I would say definitely puts me in the top 1% sleeper in the world. That's completely unfactual, but I believe that's the case. And now I have more energy, better health, way better cognitive function, and I feel amazing every day because I optimize my sleep. Sleep is such a big deal when it comes to transforming your physique. There are now endless studies that show when you're sleep deprived, your ability to gain muscle drops significantly, your ability to gain fat goes up quite a substantial bit, and if you're in a caloric deficit and you neglect your sleep, you are most likely going to lose far less body fat and even potentially run the risk to lose muscle. Not to mention, if you're a guy, your testosterone will 100% not be maximized if you don't get good quality sleep. Then we can talk about growth hormone production, which will also all contribute to your physique outcomes. So today we're gonna get you locked in. I've got 10 sleep optimization tips for you. I'm gonna go over quite literally the sleep tips that changed my life. And I promise you, if you apply them, they will absolutely change yours too. Starting with the first and most important tip that will move the needle the most, have a consistent sleep and wake schedule. This is by far the biggest lever you can pull that will dramatically improve the quality of your sleep. So when you hit the pillow, you're spending more time in deep sleep during the first part of the night and then REM sleep towards the latter. Compared to right now, if your bedtime is sporadic, you wake up, you go to bed whenever you want, you're likely spending far more time in what's called light sleep, which is nowhere near as restorative. So go to bed and wake up at roughly the same time every day, even on weekends. Now, plus or minus 30 minutes is okay, but the more consistent you can get, the less variability, the better. And what this is going to do is it's going to strengthen your body's internal clock, what's called your circadian rhythm, which basically controls your melatonin production at night, your cortisol awakening response in the morning, which cortisol, let's be honest, people often think it's bad, like they demonize it, but you need cortisol to function. If you're flattened out at cortisol, you will feel like literally horrible, and you want it to follow its natural curve, which looks like a rise in the morning and then a taper off into the evening. The big point here also basically controls your whole hormonal cascade. So testosterone as well as growth hormone is tightly linked to your circadian rhythm. So get as consistent as you realistically can. So this would look like picking a time that works for you, that you know you'll be able to stick to for a while. So don't go tell yourself like, I'm gonna go to bed at 8 or 9 p.m. If you know 3 days in, you're on a roll, but then you're back to 10 or 11. So set that time, but ideally it's between 9 p.m. and 11 p.m. and then just stick to that. Same exact thing goes for the wake time, which is even more in your control. Sometimes shit happens, can't get to bed on time, that's okay, but you can always wake up on time. So set your wake time, and pretty much realistically, you should get up on that time from now on. And still, 100%, now and again, we're human. If you go to bed super late one night, it's not the end of the world. Even once a week in the grand scheme of things, not a huge deal. But beyond that, your sleep quality will take a hit. For me personally, every time there's a UFC fight, as an example, recently watched the Hamza and Duplessis. Hamza murdered him. That was ridiculous. Dominated him the whole fight. I will go to bed far later than my normal bedtime, but I still wake up in my normal wake time because that is still very much in my control. Tip number 2, get 10 to 20 minutes of morning sunlight exposure within 30 minutes of waking. This is so easy to do. It has become super popular now thanks to Andrew Huberman. If you guys know who that is, if you watch him, preaches this, and it will not only set you up to feel far better during the day via suppressing melatonin and stimulating serotonin, but will also have a big impact on your sleep in a few of the following ways. First, again, we're strengthening our circadian rhythm, saying, yo, body, it's morning time. This will again support our natural cortisol curve, which is what we want to rise first thing in the morning. It will help us secrete more melatonin at night and set you up for some pretty optimal sleep. So what I personally do is I like to, as soon as I wake up, get my water with electrolytes, a little rehydration upon wake, since we are dehydrated overnight. Make my way outside, not through a window, and go for a 20-minute-ish walk. So no sunglasses is key as well. And even on cloudy days, you still want to do this. And unfortunately, in a few months here, when it gets miserable and dark and cold here in Canada, sucks. I bought a cheap 10,000 lux light on Amazon, and I'll put that in my washroom. So right when I wake up and I'm going and I'm brushing my teeth and whatnot, I'm getting that 10,000 lux to still trigger all the benefits. And one thing I found is this actually makes a huge difference for me in the winter. And I'll also usually just have it on my desk as well throughout the morning work block when I'm working, because I'm soft, I'm not going outside unless I absolutely need to in the winter. Then I'm preheating the car, then getting inside again. All jokes aside, super easy to do and will make a massive difference to your day-to-day energy and sleep quality. Tip number 3, substance timing. I used to take heavily stimmed pre-workout after school back in the day, like 300 milligrams of caffeine at 4 p.m., which I didn't track my sleep back then, but guaranteed destroyed my sleep. I even see some of my boys doing this to this day, doing the same thing, like Starbucks at 4, 5 p.m. because they need to study. Like, no, don't do that. You might fall asleep, which is usually the answer I get. They'll be like, Oscar, but I fall asleep just fine. I promise you, the quality of that sleep will suck. Now, we all metabolize caffeine at different speeds, but a good rule of thumb is to cut it off at least 8 hours pre-bed. I usually cut mine off before 12 personally. I go to bed around 10. I also use a supplement called rutacarpine, which actually speeds up the metabolism of caffeine if I do have it a little later for whatever reason, just as kind of like an insurance policy. Then we have alcohol as well, which, I mean, if you want an easy way, a guaranteed way to fuck up your sleep, alcohol is your best bet. Even if it puts you to sleep, you're basically sedated. There's not going to be any real deep or REM sleep going on. Weed as well, if you smoke to help you fall asleep within 2 to 3 hours of going to bed, it will destroy your REM sleep, which is why you don't dream, and then when you come off, you have these crazy vivid dreams. Tip number 4, block blue light at night or do a digital detox. Now, here's where I veer a little less quote-unquote 100% optimal. So all the sleep experts, most of them will tell you, put all your screens away an hour before bed and then read or journal, meditate, light stretch. But I do like watching my TV before bed. I do use my phone. However, the key is I avoid anything too stimulating. So what I mean by that is close to bed, I'm not going to watch like some type of horror movie or some shit that's going to get me amped up. If I do go on my phone, I don't use social media because that'll just get me thinking. My Instagram feeds now, it's just a bunch of health and fitness stuff, a bunch of studies. So that'll get me thinking. The key is just watch passive and chill shit essentially. And why I'm able to still achieve great, like I said, top 1% sleep scores. This week I'm actually on a roll. I've gotten above 98% all week, minus the UFC fights, is because I block all blue light. So I got a quality pair of blue light glasses from a company called Raw Optic. No affiliation there yet. And I turn off all the lights. I switch over to a red light lamp I got from a company called Bond Charge. Again, no affiliation yet. So there's really no blue light getting into my eyes. And our skin also has photoreceptors as well, which when exposed to bright light, doesn't have to be blue light, will also blunt your melatonin. So if you do that, you got quite an optimal sleep setup. And to mimic this, use red light filter on your phone. If you don't have blue light glasses, you can do that in the accessibility settings, so you're covered there. If you want to watch TV at night, you're definitely going to want to get a pair of blue light glasses. And you're also going to want to at least dim the lights in your house, because even like a short few seconds of bright light, especially close to bed, will have a significant impact on your melatonin production. Tip number 5, we want to make your bedroom a bat cave. Cold, dark, and quiet. First, we have to make your bedroom cold. This will depend person to person, but around 18 degrees Celsius or 65 degrees Fahrenheit. Some people like it colder, some people a little warmer, but you want to be at least chilly because we need our core body temperature to drop to get into deep sleep. And also just think about how we evolved, which a lot of this, basically all of what we're trying to do is mimic what our environment would have been like as we evolved back in the day. So the sun goes down, it gets colder, it gets dark, there's no more light. We would have been completely pitch black, basically. So get your room cold. I like it around 17 degrees, get nice and cozy under my blankets. If you have an extra, say, like 4K laying around, then I'd 100% invest in the 8 sleep mattress, which I'm currently saving up for, because I don't think there really is a better place to invest your money. That will literally dictate the quality of your life and how you feel every day. But nevertheless, we want it cold. We also want it as dark as you can get it. So blackout blinds or curtains, a sleep mask potentially, they always fall off for me. So I just got some curtains off Amazon. And a big one most people miss is those little LED lights, like on your alarm clock. If you have one of those beside your bed, you want to cover those or unplug it. And then lastly, you want it quiet. Now for some people, I get this is out of your control, but you can absolutely get some earplugs. For example, when I lived in a house with three of my friends, they'd be causing a bunch of ruckus. I don't know, doing who knows at like 12, 1 in the morning, getting mad at each other, probably playing 2K or something. So earplugs were massive, and I paired that with a white noise from a fan, so I was still able to get great sleep. Tip number 6, eat your last meal at least 2 to 3 hours away from bed. If you eat a big meal close to bed, you will worsen your sleep quality because as your body is trying to digest that meal, it will raise your heart rate, which we want actually as low as possible before bed, and it will raise your core body temperature, which we also want to be low before bed. So avoid big meals close to bed. You definitely don't want to go to bed hungry though, so I've been there when dieting, not easy to fall asleep hungry, but ideally your last meal is on the lighter side. It's something that digests really well with you so you're not bloated. Carbs in your last meal, this is more of a dieting tip, but will help you sleep better. Just avoid something big and you're pretty much good. Now there is research showing a protein shake close to bed actually has no effect on sleep quality. Again, super easily digestible. There's also research showing 2 kiwis like an hour before bed does improve sleep quality. So that goes to show that you can eat something before bed. However, you want it to be very, very light and it digests super well. So what I do right now, my calories are around maintenance, so I'm not hungry before bed, but I just have my last meal about 3 hours before I sleep, sometimes 3.5. When I'm dieting, a nice bowl of oats, moderate carbs, protein and fats is my go-to about 2.5 hours before bed. Tip number 7, have a wind down routine. I'm a huge fan of having a morning routine to start your day off right. Same exact thing applies to a nighttime routine to tell my brain, okay, it's time to sleep. We're going into sleep mode now, because the habituation of you doing the same thing will trigger the parasympathetic side of your nervous system, the rest and digest state. It will lower stress hormones like cortisol, just get you zen, chill, ready to fall asleep. So when your head hits the pillow, you're out. So what mine looks like, if you want to take some inspiration perhaps, is a warm shower, which will actually help your body lower its core temperature afterwards. Again, exactly what we want to get into that nice deep sleep. I'll then go to the couch, kick up, maybe watch a TV show for a bit. Then as I get within, let's say, 15 to 20 minutes of my bedtime, which is when I'd suggest starting your wind down routine. And this has actually made it so easy to get to sleep for me. It gets me super relaxed and I'm out cold so fast. Is I'll put on a podcast that I'm like half interested in, but it's purely just some kind of brain rot-ish. So like Joe Rogan talking to some dude about ancient civilizations or aliens, or maybe talking to a dude in the fedora about psychedelics or some conspiracy, something along those lines. And I'll put a 10-minute timer or even a 5-minute timer, depending on how tired I am, on Spotify. So it will automatically turn off. I then get in bed, and then most of the time I fall asleep before it's even done. Now, this again is contradicting what the most sleep experts would say to do, but I've only seen improvements to my sleep. So experiment. Big thing is just get a bedtime routine in place, more specifically that 15 to 20 minutes before bed. Do the exact same thing consistently, and you will have no trouble getting to sleep. Tip number 8 is exercise. So when it comes to exercise, if we train earlier in the day, around let's say like midday or afternoon, that's awesome. It will promote deeper sleep. However, if we train too late, it will take away from our sleep. So ideally, you don't train within 3 to 6 hours before bed. Now, I suggest closer to that 6 hours. So right now, if your only window to train is, let's say, late at night, I would 100% shift your sleep schedule to get up earlier, train first thing in the morning, and then go to bed earlier. Especially if you're training within, let's say, 3 hours before bed, you're really gonna have a negative impact on your sleep. Tip number 9, track your data. There's a quote that says, what gets measured gets managed, and what gets managed gets improved. Now, this is something I think every single person should do for at least a period of their life. I absolutely don't think it's necessary forever, but if you haven't tracked your sleep before, not only will it give you some objective data to look at, for a lot of people, it's actually quite eye-opening. I've had a few clients now who, in our initial consultation process, they said they sleep great, like 8 to 9 hours a night. Then a few months in, as the level of their goals increased, they decided to get a Whoop or Oura Ring and track their sleep. And turns out, yeah, they were in bed for 8 to 9 hours, but we're only getting around 6 to 7 hours of sleep per night. So then we adjusted some things around their routine, applied most of what I went through in this video, and were able to dramatically improve their sleep. And not only did we see their physique change far faster, they didn't realize it was actually possible to feel this good every day. And not only that, the other side of tracking that I think is very cool is it will let you see how your new habits are paying off. For example, if you consistently go to bed and wake up at the same time, you're going to be able to in real time see that consistency pay off as your sleep quality improves, as your latency improves. So it will help reinforce those good habits because you can now measure if they're actually working. And that's actually one of the ways you build positive habits. Would highly recommend the book Atomic Habits. It helped me massively when I was first getting into building these positive habits. So you'll actually now be able to see how that caffeine at 4 p.m. impacts your sleep. What happens when you drink alcohol? More specifically, what happens to your HRV? What happens when you're exposed to a bunch of bright light before bed, when you have a big meal before bed? So nevertheless, would absolutely recommend everyone for some amount of time track their sleep, and you can use a Whoop if you want, or a Ring, Fitbit, I believe, potentially the Apple Watch, not sure about that one, but it will have a massive ROI. Tip number 10 and the last tip on the list is sleep supplementation. Now, no, you do not need supplements, but once the habits we ran through are in place, supplementation will 100% move the needle and improve your sleep. But the thing is, this is where most people start. They want better sleep. They're like, immediately, what supplements can I take? No, that is completely backwards. So get the foundation in place first, the previous 9 steps, then move on to supplementation to amplify those habits. So I'll run you through a list of some I'd recommend. Then I'm going to go over my personal sleep stack I found works best for me. So some staples really. The only 3 staples I'd say if you're limited on budget or you just want a few supplements to start off with are the following. First, magnesium. This one is a must. Somewhere around 200 to 400 milligrams before bed is perfect. You could go magnesium biglycinate, or you could go magnesium L-threonate, and it'll help calm your nervous system and promote relaxation. It kind of literally tells your body it's time to downshift into recovery mode. And an astonishing amount of people are actually deficient in magnesium without even realizing it. So if you start taking it and you notice a dramatic difference, a dramatic improvement in your sleep quality, that is likely why. Next is glycine. This one is fantastic. Around 3 to 4 grams before bed has been shown to lower your core body temperature, which again, hugely beneficial. One of the key signals your body uses to fall asleep faster and get into deeper sleep. And finally, L-theanine. This is especially useful if you're that type of person who, you hit the pillow, but your brain just won't shut off. You're racing about thoughts, you think about what happened during the day, overthinking random stuff, not being able to quiet the mind. L-theanine will help smooth that out. So those are 3 simple, affordable ones I'd recommend you start off with. And if you're currently deficient, especially in magnesium, you're going to notice the impact almost immediately. Okay, now say you want to nerd out a little bit, take things to the next level, take your sleep up a notch. You could try some of the following supplements, like apigenin, a low dose of melatonin, anywhere from 300 micrograms to 1 milligram, which I'd actually take closer to an hour and a half pre-bed. Melatonin actually is a potent antioxidant, so some people do take a bit more, provided they don't wake up feeling groggy from it. Then you could try out ashwagandha, specifically KSM 66. It will help lower cortisol and put you into that parasympathetic rest and digest state. Then there's others like 5-HTP, valerian root, phosphatidylserine, and saffron, which is quite the heavy hitter. So quite a few you could experiment with, find the combination that you like best. But onto my current sleep stack, which is 400 milligrams magnesium biglycinate. I also take the Momentous sleep packs, which consists of magnesium L-threonate, apigenin, and L-theanine. I take 1 milligram of melatonin, 4 grams of glycine, and then 500 milligrams of phosphatidylserine. And that stack has allowed me to achieve the best sleep. I've experimented with a bunch of them, takes them in, takes them out for a while, but that combination has worked best for me. So that is exactly how I achieve optimal sleep. I hope these tips help you out as much as they've helped me, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.